All right, welcome everyone. We've reached the top of the hour and we're going to allow the system to let everyone log on, make sure the screen is showing, they can see what's happening, and then we'll begin. I hope that you're staying healthy and safe wherever you are in the world, and sane. Like many of you, I have children in the house that are not normally in the house, and I'm letting them sleep in this morning so that hopefully we avoid any interruptions while we're doing this from either them or the cats. So it looks like we've got even more people signing on. We had 153 registrants for this webinar. So excited to have such a keen interest in this program, and especially of those of you who would like to be a trainer in this program. So far, 52 of you have logged into the system. So it usually takes just a few minutes for everyone to be able to get on at the same time. Yeah, that's looking good. So let's go ahead and get started. First, I just want to let you know this session is being recorded, so don't feel like you have to snag screenshots or anything like that as we're going through, or write down notes feverishly. This recording will be made available to you. Since you registered for the webinar, you're just going to get an automatic email with the recording. And if you missed that one, we also have a recording from the one that I did back in March for this. So you'll have access to both of those. Of course, today you will get some updated information about the program as we go through. So without further ado, I should also let you know that I am by myself today. Typically we have some support people, or there's more than one of us, so we can be tracking what's going on in the chat window and in the questions. I'm going to be in control of all of that by myself because we've got a lot going on in the association right now. And so be patient with me as I try to track your questions and chat messages there. I'll try to make sure that I get to each and every one of you throughout the session. So my name is Ben Helt. I have been with the SCA for a couple of years now. Prior to joining full-time, I was a contractor in the SCA days in our education program there, and a volunteer. Prior to, and I guess I want to share just a little information about myself as we get started. I got into coffee as a first-time coffee roaster, barista, and business owner all at the same time, which I wouldn't recommend to anyone, but was able to make it through. I had some wonderful employees that taught me everything I know about coffee, and was able to then sell the wholesale side of my roasting business to one company and sold the retail to another, and entered into the world of education, and did so by helping start an SCAA campus at the time, and now a premier training campus here in Kansas City, Missouri, called Workbench Coffee Labs. And I wanted to bring that up because it's, I think, special to me that I found myself in a position to be working on this program, given the fact that in 2016, I believe, some very passionate members of the coffee technicians community and the coffee manufacturing community came together because they wanted to form an organization, a guild that could advocate for, support, and provide education opportunities for coffee technicians. And that group of people gathered for their first summit right here in Kansas City, Missouri at Workbench Coffee Labs, operated by Marty and Tootie Rowe. And so that first group of 12 to 15 people came together, and from the very beginning, we're advocating for some kind of education or certification program for coffee technicians. They have championed that cause, and that's part of why we're on this call today. It's been something that the SCA has recognized as something that could be part of our education portfolio, and that we're trying to bring to life. And of course, it takes highly qualified professionals to help us launch a quality program for that. And so that's what kind of brings us here today. One of the reasons that I wanted to share with you a little bit about my history is that I know how it feels to have a full-time job and volunteer for this organization. I also know how it feels to be someone who writes checks for people to receive training. And so as we've developed this program, we've kept that in mind. We want this program to be rigorous, we want it to be of value, and we want it to be sustainable over time, particularly for those who are delivering this program to learners. And so I just wanted to share with you that context from the very beginning, that that's part of that's an ethos that's kind of driving this program as we move forward. Now, what brings us here today is to talk about the application process for the inaugural group of trainers in this program. That's what this session is intended for. But there may be many of you on this call who are just tuning in because you're curious about this program. Maybe you want to be a learner, maybe you're a manufacturer and you're curious about what this program is going to entail, and that's great. So I've kind of divided this presentation up into two parts. We're going to spend the first part of our time together talking about the program in general, so that we are all on the same page of what we're talking about here. And then I'm going to transition into the actual application process and some of the details there. For those of you who are just curious about the program, that's a great, I'm going to bring the bus to a stop, and that's a great time to get off, but you're welcome to stay with us the whole time. This may take about, it can take anywhere, depending on your questions, between an hour and a half for us to go through this program. So stay with me, and I think you'll find this quite interesting as we move through. As I mentioned, this program is meant to be rigorous and of value. Okay, so I'm going to start off with a quick overview of the program itself, help you understand its structure, because when you see it in total, it can look rather large and foreboding. And I want you to see how it's meant to be customizable for both you as a learner and as a trainer. So let's just talk about the program a little bit. Let me check the questions over here. Oh, yes, I forgot. Thank you for all of you joining us from around the world. I love seeing the global reach of this program. As you can see, we have representation from almost every continent, except for Antarctica, I guess. But we have people here from Peru, Serbia, Singapore, Indonesia, Germany, Ethiopia, the United States, I see. And I see some people who haven't responded from the UK. I see some folks from Greece. So we have folks from all over the world joining us today, and that's amazing that we're able to do that together. So let's talk about this program in its very basic form. It's a lot like the Coffee Skills program for those of you who may be current ASTs or familiar with that program. In this program, the SCA generates a curriculum and a set of assessments to go along with that curriculum. We do that with the help of volunteer content creators. They create that curriculum and those assessments. That curriculum and assessment package is then used by authorized trainers, who are called authorized SCA trainers. That's where AST comes from. Yes, we have an acronym inside of an acronym there. And then those ASTs deliver the program to learners. So we have content creators that help us put this program together, the curriculum and the assessments. Authorized trainers put together lesson plans and learner experiences on their own, and then deliver that to learners. And then when it's done, the learners end up with a certificate. And it's very important for me to stop here and remind you that this is a certificate skills program. This is not a certification program. It may grow into that one day, but in this current form, it's a certificate program. For example, if you go through electrical, foundation, intermediate, and professional, that does not make you an electrician. It just means that you have met the knowledge objectives, both practical and theoretical, in this program throughout those courses. It's also not an authorization to work, it's not like a warranty authorization. This doesn't authorize you to meet any kind of warranty standards by a manufacturer. But it is certainly of value as we go through this. Let's check our questions. Well, we have some new folks. Oh, hey, Cape Town, South Africa. Wonderful, welcome. Okay. For those of you familiar with the Coffee Skills program, this will look quite familiar to you. The program is built on a series of modules in this case, 6 modules, and underneath each module, there are 3 levels of courses. I want to talk you through a little bit about each one of these modules. And I should point out that this is not a program where a learner is required to take each course. It's meant to be customizable, and I'll explain that a little bit in a moment. As you can see, this is broken down into 6 different modules that are relevant to a coffee technician or someone who supports coffee equipment. Hydraulics, this is everything that's involved with the movement of water or steam through a machine. Starts off very basic, anatomy, components, systems, and builds into a more professional level of troubleshooting in those areas. Electrical, same thing, all dealing with the electrical components that and electrical troubleshooting related to the coffee equipment. As you may know, a lot of what's inside of coffee equipment is electromechanical. So these 2 modules have a lot of overlap, and we'll probably have some cross-module prerequisites between them. Water and preventive maintenance. Obviously, water, extremely important to everything related to coffee technology. It will probably be pervasive throughout all of these courses, but this is the module where water treatment technology lives. This is where it belongs. So this will be the home base for everything dealing with water chemistry, treatment, and its role in preventive maintenance. In addition to water treatment technology in this module, learners who are taking these courses will also learn about basic preventive maintenance routines, and then also going from understanding basic preventive maintenance routines to, at the professional level, being able to put preventive maintenance programs together for their business, or training their customers to conduct that preventive maintenance. Coffee machines is meant to be a module where if somebody comes to this world and they've got some technical expertise, but they're not familiar with the world of coffee machines, this is where that lives. History, context around it. This is where someone would learn the difference between an automatic or a manual, an automatic, fully automatic, super automatic, semi-automatic espresso machine, or a difference between a displacement brewer and a vented type brewer. This is where they would learn about the generalities of coffee machines and maybe even some performance tuning there. We all know that technicians are often required to know more, like it goes beyond just understanding the subject and how to do it. There's a process in place. Operations management is intended to be about the technician workflow. It's about parts control and the inventory. It's about wholesale distribution channels and understanding those things. So it's a lot of what takes place in the shop or in the office of the world, but then also the technician workflow in the field. Coffee technicians, much like piano tuners, are required to understand the equipment and understand how to troubleshoot and fix it, but then also be able to use it. And that's why we've included the coffee preparation module here. Now, those of you who are involved in the Coffee Skills program, you'll recognize a lot of the content here, because what this is a curated set of learning objectives and materials from the Coffee Skills program, Barista Skills and Brewing programs and modules, reshaped and reformed to be very relevant to those who support coffee equipment. And so that's why we have the coffee preparation module there. Now, this is meant to be, let's see here, very customizable. Again, it's not a situation where every class is right for everyone. So if you're an electrical engineer and you're coming into coffee, you've joined a manufacturing company, you probably won't benefit much from the electrical module. That may be something that you just know, so it's more about orienting you to the other parts of it. So this may be a worthwhile investment when it comes to hydraulics, water and preventive maintenance, coffee machines, coffee preparation. That might be the right package for someone who comes to the specialty coffee industry and comes to this position as an electrical engineer. Or maybe it's a situation where there's a barista, maybe you're a barista and you're a bit of an equipment nerd, and you're wanting to look at this as a possible career path. Coffee preparation, you've got that. You've got professional experience in extraction of both espresso and brewed coffee, steaming milk. You got that. Probably not going to invest some of your money in coffee preparation, but the hydraulics module, the electrical module, and the water and preventive maintenance module, those courses would definitely serve as a good core path for you to start down that path in your career. Or maybe someone is just hiring someone, or maybe you're a business owner and you're wanting to kind of sharpen the skills and the efficiency of what you're doing in your business or in the department in which you work. You may find that just the parts of this program that are relevant to you are just operations management, and that's where maybe you'll spend most of your education investment there. But maybe you're someone who's hiring a person to work in the home office of a technician's company or that department, and they're handling things like dispatching, answering customer phone calls, managing parts inventories. That person may look more at a group of courses like this, understanding the basics of coffee extraction so they can support customers, understanding the full range of operations management, becoming familiar with coffee machines, and then understanding basic preventive maintenance. But maybe they don't need to have much invested in learning the details about hydraulics and electrical troubleshooting there. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a window or look into the customizable intent behind this program. And so I want to kind of take you a little deeper into what the levels may look like within a particular module. Now, keep in mind the content and curriculum of this program is still being designed right now. And so while we're still developing the curriculum, we needed to take some time to also identify the right people to help us launch this program in the field. So let's talk a little bit about the hydraulics module in particular. In the hydraulics module, which is well underway in development, you'll see that we subscribe to Bloom's taxonomy when it comes to the development of our curriculum. And at the foundation level, we're talking about understanding and remembering. At this level, they're most likely going to be learning about the anatomy within the system. They're going to be learning about thermodynamics. They're going to learn a little bit about the different kinds of paths that water takes. And I should also note that in these foundation courses and throughout the whole program is embedded a culture of safety. And so every class includes a lot of information about keeping technicians and the equipment and the environment safe along the way. So at the foundation level, we're just talking about understanding and remembering. They're not even getting in and removing any parts at the foundation level. They're identifying those parts, they're learning about different fittings, but they're also getting some practical skills. They're learning about supporting both sides of a junction. They're learning the two-wrench method and some of those things at the foundation level. At intermediate, it's time to start applying and demonstrating what we've learned at that point. A lot of removal and replacement, really kind of getting that tactile ability down pat as they move into that. And then at professional, we're starting to analyze and investigate. At that point, they would have already taken some electrical as well. Then we're getting into some real troubleshooting and creative solutions at the professional level. So that's kind of a look into what you would expect from these different courses. And I should point out that usually foundation is going to be a 1 or 2 day course. It's meant to be right off the street. So like if you're someone who is currently a barista and you're curious about what's going on in the machine, but you've never taken the panels off to look inside, you would feel comfortable in this foundation class. Usually a 1 to 2 day experience that's concluded with both a written and practical exam. Intermediate classes are going to be a little bit longer. These could be anywhere from 2 to 4 days, depending on the module. And then I would imagine that the professional courses are going to be a 3 to 5 day experience, depending on the module. And let's talk about the curriculum. You've heard me say that the content creators create a curriculum that the trainers then look at. So what does that mean and what does it look like? This is an actual excerpt from one of our drafts in the Electrical Foundation course. And so what the trainer is given is a set of sections, topics, and learning objectives. It's broken down into things like electrical concepts. And then within this document, there will be a topic, learning objectives that they're meant to cover. These objectives answer the question, by the time someone is finished with this course and passes the course, they should be able to. For example, here, by the end of this course, as you can see from letter A, they should be able to define an electrical circuit, what that is. They should be able to define continuity. They should be able to differentiate between a series circuit and a parallel circuit. Then, of course, ASTs will have some notes from the creators to help clarify what it is that the creator has intended for them to learn. This whole program is only as good as its assessments. So the design of the written exam and the practical exam is really where the quality control comes into play. Trainers will have access to all of the written questions that are available for a topic. Learners will take a written exam online, and it's built on a pool of questions, and those questions are then randomized so that no learner should be taking the same exact test twice through there. Then, of course, and I think this is important, this program is not necessarily all built on opinions and experience. Part of what we're doing here is also identifying third-party sources and references to back up the assessments that we have. So I challenge the creators that I work with to work through the scope of the process and what they want to teach, but then we're also meant to go find a reference material to point to say that this is true. Now, there's not a lot of content out there, third-party content that's been written about coffee technology. So we have to have a very good relationship with manufacturers and their materials to help make this possible. So that's kind of a peek into the curriculum itself. So once again, this is a large program. It's customizable. And what brings us here today, so like, what brings us here today is bringing together the people to teach this. I'm going to take a look in the chat window here real quick, see if there's any questions here. Ryan asks, what value does it have specifically? And Ryan, I may ask you to put that in here, like unpack that a little bit for me. I think if I'm understanding your question, this is going to be something where people can invest and receive education on things that are on learning objectives that are available, outlined, and be able to show that they have mastered the theoretical knowledge and the practical learning objectives in there. So as I've mentioned, this is not a certification program, but it is something where learners who pass these exams will have a certificate that shows that they have completed this this program and these learning objectives. So it's definitely something that's unique. It's the first of its kind to be a global approach to having standardized training information for this particular audience in these modules. And so if you want to unpack your question a little bit for me, that would be great. And so here's a question from that's, which brand of machine are being focused on? Great question. And for those of you who are joining the call that work for an equipment manufacturer, I think this is very important. No specific brands are being focused on. I think that that's the quick answer, is there is no focus on particular brands. However, the curriculum is designed to cover general and universal systems within coffee machines. However, this will mean that anyone who's teaching, for example, the hydraulics foundation course, they're going to have, according to our equipment requirements, a multi-boiler machine in the room, and they're also going to have a machine with a heat exchanger in it. So that right there makes it to where anyone who's teaching these courses will have to have multiple brains in the room to teach this class. So no focus on particular brands. In fact, in your license agreement as an AST, when you enter in that with us, there are some guidelines when it comes to your ability, well, basically the code of conduct when it comes to promoting certain brands in the class and how to best avoid that. So good question, thank you for that. So let's go back here. What brings us here today is this centerpiece. Again, we designed this curriculum and these assessments. The authorized trainer themselves have a lot of responsibility here and a lot of freedom. The AST designs their own PowerPoints, they set up their own schedules, they set their own prices. Now, I think I have this information here. Yeah, so the SCA engages an AST in a 3-year license. You're basically paying a fee to deliver this curriculum, to have access to it, to have access to the exams and run people through this system. The AST sets their own course tuition. However, the SCA has a set administration fee for the learner to pay. So the SCA is charging the learner this administration fee to get their certificate and to support the program, but the AST sets their own prices, their own schedule, and creates their own learner experience from there based on the curriculum that we have. So this tuition fee is charged by the SCA, but it's collected to make it convenient for the learner by the AST, and then the AST is invoiced upon the completion of each course from that. That administration fee helps support the program itself and the development of the program, but it raises funds that helps with other things that we do. The education programs of the SCA, in combination with large events like Expo and World of Coffee, help support all of the other programming that we do, including research, sustainability, publications like 25 Magazine, everything that we do to help create community and work towards a more sustainable coffee, especially coffee industry, is supported through this program. So not only are we helping promote best practices in coffee technology and repair, and helping learners be successful, helping business people be successful, but by participating in this program, you're doing so much more. You're generating revenue that helps support all of these things that we do around the world. And that's why it's such a special program that we have. So that's a little bit about the program in total. I'm going to pause and take a look in the questions window to see if you have more questions about the program itself before we move into the trainer. Okay. Okay, some of these I think I'll be able to. Okay, Ryan has followed up on his question here. He says, sure, you mentioned a lot of things that the course doesn't provide. Yeah, I did do that, where I talk about it's not a warranty authorization, it's not a certification, but what do we envision that it will provide the coffee tech? This provides a coffee tech standardized training that's been put together by from a third-party source, not from a manufacturer. It's not manufacturer specific. This is going to be training that's put together by industry experts around the world, coming together to put together good, solid core training materials for people. Plus, there'll be a direct line between this program and those creators and pending research because of what we're doing when it comes to our Coffee Science Foundation and all the research that's happening there. A lot of that information, as it gets reviewed and confirmed and sealed, I guess would be a good way to put it, will be embedded in this program. So I think it's one of those things where as you start to see what the learning objectives are that are included in this program, you'll see that it definitely promotes a culture of safety. It does a wonderful job, or it should do a wonderful job, of combining both theoretical knowledge with how to work with your hands and be successful inside the machine. And you're starting off with true third-party substantiated facts along the way. There's a question here about our need for supporting the content of the program. Yes. Many of you will be getting my email. I'll post it here in a little bit. There are opportunities still for those of you who would like to plug in and raise your hand to be content creators in the program. I would welcome having a conversation with you. I think you should know up front that it is a contribution and a gift of work. It's definitely something that takes some time. The content creators that I work with are generally donating somewhere between 5 to 10 hours a month on this, and usually report having a wonderful time engaging with colleagues in the process. And so I'll post my email address. I'll just do that right now in the chat window, so you'll see it there. Feel free to reach out and I can tell you a little bit more about being part of that. And of course, this doesn't have to be the end of the conversation. For those of you who have questions, feel free to continue the conversation even after this webinar. I'm here to answer those questions. Any more questions about the content of this program or how it's structured? Great. Okay, let's move on. Again, if you think of some later, this is not your last opportunity. You can keep asking those questions. So let's talk about launching this program. It's a new program. Unlike the Coffee Skills program, where we have courses already available, we can engage you in those courses, and we have professional courses you need to pass before becoming an AST. We're identifying the first group of people, the inaugural group of people who are going to be launching this program, and we're wanting to engage with qualified professionals that exhibit these three things. These are the three things that are important as we launch this program: career experience and expertise in the subject matter. For this first group of trainers and maybe on, we actually want trainers who have experience in the field, who have who know what it's like to fix coffee equipment for other people, support that equipment. Maybe they've done some things in R&D. That's the kind of person we're looking for. So not just someone who understands what's happening, has that knowledge, but somebody who actually also has experience in the field, because there are things that you can only learn from that experience. And as an educator, we want you to have that depth of knowledge and depth of experience to pass that on to the learner, but then also expertise in the subject matter. And so having some documented, expertise, you know, credentials, certifications, some of the maybe even academic degrees that come along with that. In addition to knowing what you're talking about and having that experience, you also need to be a good trainer and a good instructor. Remember, this is classroom instruction, so it's even a little bit different than being a good mentor. We want to see that the people we're engaging as ASTs actually have experience and an acumen for education, designing learner experiences, designing lesson plans, and those things. And then we want people who are going to be active. We want to engage professionals who want to help launch and grow this program and aren't looking to add it to their resume or their business card. We're looking for people who are going to be active. So these three criteria, or these three desires that we would like to see these professionals exhibit, have driven this entire process. All of the materials that have been created in this process are meant to help us identify people who meet this criteria. Let's take a look here. Forgive my silence. Okay, one of the questions that we have, actually I'm going to save that. Okay, I'm going to go back and answer a question on the program and what I'm saying about the certificate. I know that it's a fine line, particularly for North American English speakers like myself. You will receive a certificate upon the completion of every course. You will have a certificate that says that you have taken and passed both a written and practical exam in every one of these courses. It is a certificate program. What I'm trying to say is it's not an accredited certification program that is a little bit different and looks different in different countries. And so we have to be careful using that word certification because of the global nature of this organization right now. Hey, great question here. Is there a program on roasting machines? I'm really glad that you asked this question because the way that we've built this in those modules and courses was purposeful so that someday we can start adding things on. Very interested in having a roasting machine module added onto this. We have to take care of first things first with this, but there's all sorts of different areas that we can now add on and ones that we probably haven't even thought of yet. Particularly in coffee producing countries, there's all sorts of equipment that is not included in what you've seen on the screen, which is more on the consumption side of things. So that is a great question, and I hope someday that we'll be able to grow into that. Wonderful. So let's talk a little bit more about this process. Once you become an AST, and I've kind of shown you what it is that we would like to have, you know, and the kinds of people that we would like to engage with here, there are expectations after you become an AST. Like I said, we want you to be active. That involves having some minimum certifications. All of our ASTs that have joined recently and as they renew are being made aware of the fact that they need to hit a minimum number of certifications or at least be offering courses to try to achieve those minimum number of certifications for learners over their 3-year license if they would like to renew. In addition to that, all of our authorized trainers are required to log and document activities that they engage in to build continuing development points. We want to make sure that all of our trainers are staying up on new information, challenging themselves to also be learners and engaging in research and emerging knowledge that's forthcoming. And so that's built into the program as well. In order to renew your license after 3 years, you need to be able to show that you have continued to grow yourself. But then also, we want to make sure all of our trainers are demonstrating our core values, abiding by our code of conduct, working to build a sustainable coffee industry. So now the process that we're using to get there, now this is just for 2020. So this is our inaugural process, and then this may change a little bit. We're not going to lower the expectations, but the process may look a little different starting in 2021. This is the process, and it's a process that I designed to be done 3 times in the year of 2020, and there's not really a benefit to going through any particular of these 3. I came up with this idea just knowing how busy the coffee manufacturing and technology world is, and that there just may be periods where you're not going to have enough time to complete the application. That idea came about before the whole COVID-19 thing, and I'm really glad I made that decision because it's worked out well for those of you who are facing a lot of challenges and keeping the business afloat and moving forward through a difficult year here. And so this is the process. Things start with an informational webinar, which we're having right now, and then there's an application period. We are in the second of 3 rounds here, and this application period ends on May 25th. And so that's going to be when we harvest the next set of applications from there. Applications which are complete on May 25th, and I draw a hard line on complete. If you don't have your letters of recommendation in or there's some missing information, that application is considered incomplete and will be considered in the next round if you get it complete there. Also, I should point out, no one's above the application. Even if you're a current AST or you're a very active member of our SCA community, it's an expectation that you complete this application in full. It's only fair, and that's how we're keeping the quality up in this program and maintaining a level playing field for everybody who wants to participate in the program. Those completed applications go through a scoring process by a selection committee. Now, this application review committee, the selection committee, has some very detailed guidelines that they follow in a rubric that they use to score applications. Applications that reach a minimum score go on to a discussion. So this group has representatives from our staff. It has representatives that are educators and not exactly involved in the coffee technology world. And then we also have members of the coffee technicians community that serve on that review. That group is charged with coming up with 3 answers, or one of 3 answers per applicant. Yes, yes if, so there may be something in their application that you're really inclined to invite them to become an AST, but you want to make sure that that you didn't misunderstand something in their work history or their lesson plan, something like that. And so yes if or not yet. Anyone who's not invited after the review process to become an AST during this round, we also let you know what we're looking for. It may be we want you to have more years of actual field experience or more time training in showing that and documenting that you have that education acumen. It could be any number of things, but those are the 3 choices: yes, yes if, and not yet. But here's what we would like to see. So it's not like anyone receives just a no. There's a path forward for everyone. After we generate a list of who we would like to extend invitations to, we do that. We let people know, we work through those things. Then you as a invitee would look at what you would be entering into as an agreement with the SCA and enter that agreement. Then you would go through an onboarding process. And this is where we talk about what it's like to administer courses, what our expectations are when it comes to a learning experience for students, learn a little bit about lesson planning, and just how to be an effective AST overall. The license agreement goes into effect, and then you receive your curriculum and can start designing and offering those courses. So that's what the process looks like here. And let's just move right on to how these are broken down. At this point, this can get complex. Because we want it to be high quality, we in some areas had to make it a little more complex in order to achieve that. And so this particular period of identifying ASTs is focused on one of our modules. Now, the way that you qualify to teach in these is different than our coffee skills program. The coffee skills program, you just have to pass the professional level of the course, and then you can teach that course as an AST. And it will be different in this program. One of the key differences between this program and our other education programs is we have combined hydraulics, electrical, water, and preventive maintenance into one license. It is one combined license, mostly because there's going to be a lot of cross-module prerequisites as someone progresses through the courses. Plus, those who are capable and qualified in teaching in one of these is most likely also going to be capable and qualified to teach in all 3. We also feel like this is going to be a popular bundle for learners to take. So these are combined into one license. So you don't sign up to be a hydraulics AST and a coffee machines AST. You either are a hydraulics, electrical, and water preventive AST, or you're none of them. There. So this is combined all into one. Coffee machines, however, the content there could reasonably be delivered by someone who isn't quite right for the core modules bundle, or just wants to offer this bundle. So that is a single license that would be in addition to the core module or on its own. Same with operations management. There are going to be some ASTs who are very adept in this, who may not be the right fit for teaching electrical troubleshooting, but this may be their time to shine. Now, coffee preparation is also a single license. Those of you on the call who are current ASTs in brewing and barista skills, you're going to get this free. So this is going to be an add-on that you only have to ask for. So if you are a current AST in barista skills and brewing, both, you're going to be able to just ask for this module to be added to your portal. You'll have it there. If you're a CTEC-P AST and you come in through this selection process and you're a core modules AST, you're going to need to meet a different standard. You're probably going to need to have had barista skills intermediate and brewing intermediate in order to add this to your license pack. So again, a little more complex than some of our other programs. It's the core modules, and then these are single modules. These first rounds are intended, and this is a lesson we learned in the first round, these 3 rounds in 2020 are focused on these core module combined licenses. If you are interested in delivering coffee machines, operations management, please move forward with putting in your application, but just understand that the priority and the focus of curriculum development right now is in these core modules. So those will be the first courses and curriculum that get released towards the end of 2020 and early 21. Let's take a look here and see lots of questions. Okay, here's a good question. Where will the trainings be held? Okay. Trainings will be held wherever ASTs, authorized trainers, decide to deliver them. There will be venue requirements, much like we have in the coffee skills program, that will dictate what kind of space is needed and what kind of equipment needs to be in the space in order for the trainer to deliver that. One of the questions that we got in our last webinar about this is about there being some kind of practical exam for you to pass in order to become a trainer in this program. During the year of 2020, that does not exist. This selection process is how you become a trainer. There is no place for you to take these courses and pass a practical exam right now. So the question of where these courses will be delivered is also dependent on where our ASTs are. I'm happy to report that from the first round, we have a really nice global spread across several continents with ASTs. But building our AST network is how we build the different geographic areas where this can be delivered. Let's see, checking some other questions. Some of these I'll probably respond to some of you directly on. Okay. What are the first 4 modules you are focused on? That's from Gustavo. Thank you for the question, Gustavo. And if I understand your question correctly, I'm going to talk about the focus of the curriculum development. Again, we're working with volunteer groups and the subject matter experts as we put this together. I'd say that the first 4 modules that we're focused on are hydraulics, electrical, water preventive maintenance, and operations management. Now, coffee preparation, as I've mentioned, is going to be a curated list of learning objectives and some of the same assessments from the coffee skills program. So that one's going to come together quite easily. But I would say that those are the first 4. But again, a lot of that depends on the bandwidth of our volunteers. Hopefully that helps answer that question. Let's talk about the money. There's a fee structure for this. Now here's the regular AST pricing. This is what it is today to become an AST in the CSP program and what we based the pricing for the CTEC-P under, which is an $1,800 or 1,500 euro license that covers 3 years. This also includes an individual professional membership. So keep in mind that AST licenses are between the SCA and a person. They're not between the SCA and a company. So if you work for a company and become an AST and you leave or things change, that AST license goes with you because you are the person who holds that license. So we wanted to make sure that every AST knows that they're going to be a member throughout their time as an AST. Now, we also know that this program is still in development. And so it's not like in June, you're going to become an AST in the CTEC-P program, and I'm going to hand you all 9 courses in that core module bundle. That's still in development. So we wanted to make sure that we made that fair as people came on. And basically, during this promotional year, designed it to where it is similar to having like the first 2 years on us with that as we kind of grow the program. So the core module license bundle would be $600 or 571 euros. And then other modules would be $200 and $190 each. That would be the regular pricing. And let's see if I have, yeah. However, during this beginning year, we've cut that in a third. So basically, the base AST license fee plus the core module bundle would only be $800 or 762 euros. And that's for the 3-year license. Now, we also made it to where that starts, you're going to start the clock on January 1st or December 31st, 2020. That way, no matter which one of these rounds you come into or when you attend an AST course or go through that onboarding process, we're not going to start the clock until the end of the year. That's also when this would be due. So no matter when you engage in this process, we're not going to send you an invoice for this fee until towards the end of the year. As you start to prepare your application, I want to make sure that you take a look at the application information guide. I wanted to make sure that you had everything you needed to help you prepare to put in a successful application here. So let's see if I can get that. Okay, so at the SCA.coffee website, under Education and Programs, under the Coffee Technicians program, you will find an application information guide. I encourage you to download that and go through that information before you start the application process. The application itself is a Google form that you will also find in that same space. And it has a series of components to it. I'm going to dig into each one of these components in the next several slides here. Each one of these is designed to gather specific information, which has been compiled into or broken down and scored via a rubric there. We've learned some lessons from the first round that I'm going to share with you as we go through. So make sure you're paying attention to this. Of course, the first part of the application is just profile information, right? Just the name, where you are, who you're affiliated with. We're very intent on making sure that we're finding the best people, but that also we have diverse perspectives within our CTEC-P AST pool, particularly when it comes to geography and some of those things. So we're asking for a little bit of profile information there. Then industry experience and work history. Here, we're wanting to know what your professional experience is in coffee technology. When you complete the form, please give us some dates along the way. That's a lesson that we learned from the first round, because what we're going to do is apply a score based on the number of years you have had in the industry of coffee technology, particularly in the field, or maybe even other relevant work history. Maybe it's in technology and support and repair and something that wasn't coffee technology. We would like to have that. Please include dates as you do that. It'd be very helpful. We want to know a little bit about the roles you've had in supporting coffee equipment. And in particular, we want to know that you have an experience with a variety of coffee equipment. Keep in mind that this is a global program and these courses may cover equipment that is not as popular in your country or your area, but we're expecting you to have experience in multiple forms and varieties of coffee equipment. You score higher when you do. Under credentials and certificates, here's what we're looking for. We're looking for third-party credentials. Maybe you have some licenses. Maybe you've attended some manufacturer training. Maybe you have other certificates that have been awarded or certifications in particular relevant disciplines or areas. Maybe you have some workplace safety or food safety certificates. Those of you in the US, like things dealing with OSHA or other occupational hazard type regulatory agencies that may have specific training that you're to comply with. We want to know about those. That helps us as we consider your application. And again, make sure you include some dates with those, and maybe if a brief description if it's something that's not apparent for that. Academic degrees. There may be some of you who have degrees in electrical engineering or electronics, in other mechanical engineering type degrees. We want to know about that in those related fields. For manufacturer training certificates, that's something that we want underneath the credentials and certificates in the previous slide. And that's clearly delineated in the licenses, but that when we talk about academic degrees, we're talking about secondary and post-secondary education there. Again, as I mentioned before, we're going to be looking for those of you who have experience and education acumen when it comes to training and designing and a learner experience for people. So we want to see and know about experience that you have. Maybe you're a current AST, you can share that information with us. We want to know about the experience you have delivering instruction. Now, part of this section, it's the next section, I've included a space where you can just brag on yourself. So if you have a recording of yourself teaching, or you have some documentation of some of your training, something you're really proud of, there's a space where you can upload that. You can give us a link so that we can review that, and you can just share with us how passionate you are about training and education. We also include, and this is important, a sample lesson plan. Now, keep in mind that those that we engage as ASTs, we're going to take you through an onboarding process. We're going to let you know what our expectations are when it comes to lesson planning. But in the application process, we want to kind of know who we're dealing with when it comes to how you would approach organizing complex material into a structured, timely experience for learners. And so there is a sample lesson plan that you will be submitting as part of your application. There is a very specific prompt. You are not to submit a lesson plan on any topic that you wish. There's a specific prompt. This is that prompt. It's included on the application and in the information guide to do this. And it's about digital multimeter and electrical testing. It's a sample lesson from that. And these are actual learning objectives from our draft of electrical foundation course. So we have already given you the learning aim that you need for that, and the specific objectives that we want you to hit in your sample lesson plan. In the application information guide, there's a one that you can print out, and you can kind of sketch out what you want to do. And then when you fill out the application, you copy and paste that or type that into some specific fields when in the application itself. Again, we understand that we're asking you to do something that we're going to be onboarding you to and giving you orientation to our way of doing things later. But this helps us kind of get a window into your sense of organization and your experience in conducting this part of the process. We want to know about basically your hopes and dreams for what you're going to do with this license. We want to know about your life in the coffee industry. We want to know how you currently interact in our industry, how you currently share your expertise and knowledge with others, and what your plans are for as an AST. Through this experience, I've had the chance to visit with people who are entering this program who know exactly where they're going to teach. They're in the process of building out schools. They're doing that. Others are planning to teach in countries where they work. They may live in one country, but they're going to be working in other countries that they represent for the company for whom they work. We want to know what it is you plan to do with this license. Again, we're wanting to engage with people who are going to be active. So we will be judging your response as, okay, is this person actually going to offer these courses and be active in helping grow this program? And so that's what this portion of the application does, is it gives you a chance to tell us a little bit about your plans for that. We also ask for letters of recommendation. Again, without these letters, it is an incomplete application and we won't be moving through the process. We're looking for 2 letters, and those 2 letters are one that speaks to your abilities as an expert, that showcases your expertise and knowledge and experience when it comes to the subject matter, and then one that supports or speaks to you as a trainer. They can overlap a little bit, but that is definitely part of the process. Now, I should stop here and say 2 things. One, there are instructions for if you have a recommender who doesn't want to give you the letter, they want to send it directly in. There are instructions for that, and it's basically sending that to myself via email. Also, these letters and the entire application can be done in your native language. So don't feel like you have to translate this all to English to send it in. We'll handle the translations on our end, and if we feel like maybe something's getting lost in translation, we're on your side, and we're going to make sure that we get that clarified before we make any decisions. So make it easy on yourself. Do it in whatever language makes you feel the most comfortable, and it's the same with these letters. If you do get, it's helpful for those letters to either be in a word processing format like Microsoft Word or Pages or something like that, or PDF. Sending it to us as a JPEG or an image makes it harder for us to translate. So keep that in mind as you go through. Let's see, so that kind of takes us through the application itself. I'm going to just take a moment while you jot down my email address here to take a look at what all the questions that I'm sure have flowed in while I was talking. Paolo asks, so if I'm a AST barista in brewing, who do I have to send a request to teach the last model? Great question. That is going to be a request sent to Haley in our office, who I'm sure if you're a current AST, you're familiar with Haley, and she will record your request so that as that comes online, we'll be able to add that to your program. Is this an extra charge for current ASTs? Yes. I'm going to point you to the SCA.coffee website under Education and Programs. This will look a lot like the module, the added modules that you're familiar with, except for this core module, should you be selected, is going to be that same price. But since you're already an AST, it's not like you're going to get hit with that extra 1,500 euros. So don't worry about that. You would only be adding the license on there. So it's not, we're not going to make you pay that again, since you're already an AST. Okay, this is a great question. It is, can someone who is not an AST register to become a coffee technician trainer? Absolutely. You do not need to be a current AST in the Coffee Skills program to apply and become a trainer in this course. They are separate programs, even though we are not going to charge you an extra AST license fee to add this to your repertoire. There. Answer that one. Wonderful. Okay, let's go back up here. Is it the same as the current AST course? This is from Donovan, and he's speaking about the onboarding process to become a trainer in the program. If you're a current AST, you're probably not going to be attending the full-blown AST onboarding process that someone new to the process will. However, I'm going to want to get you caught up to how this program is going to look different in a special session. The AST course is under revision anyway. As you know, with the challenges we're facing with social distancing, this is going to be something where we're going to be changing the onboarding process to include more online content. It may take a little longer. For those of you who have never participated in that program, the AST course is usually a 2-day in-person course where we work through your like what it's like to be an AST in terms of administration. We go through our core beliefs when it comes to adult learning, and then how we work on how you best deliver these courses. That's probably going to look a little different, Donovan. And of course, it's included in the fee. So any of you who would like to maybe refresh on that, you're more than welcome to do it again. Let's see. It's more than, if you are currently, let's see here. Looking through some of these. Okay, if I finish a path, this is from Marja. Thank you very much. This is a really good question, Marja. If you're a current AST, the question is this: if I finish a path, let's say foundation of electrical, foundation, intermediate, and professional, can I teach that module? Marja, great question. The requirements to teach modules in the Coffee Technicians program are going to be a little bit higher than they are in the Coffee Skills program. Now, some of what that entails is yet to be determined, but because of the importance of safety in this program, it's going to be a little bit more rigorous to go from just taking the courses to teaching the courses. So I would imagine we're still going to be looking for broad coffee knowledge. We're going to be looking for experience in the field, letters of recommendations, those references, maybe even some third-party credentials before exiting electrical professional and then turning around and teaching. And so that information is going to be developed and implemented at the beginning of 2021 outside of the process that we're doing in 2020. Wonderful. Scroll down here. Is there a demand for coffee technicians? Great question from Ernest. And Ernest, I would like for you to add to your questions. When you say a demand for coffee technicians, do you mean a demand for this program by coffee technicians or people interested in coffee technology, or do you mean employment opportunities and developing it as a career? Can you help me understand your question? While you're explaining that, I've got a question here from about this PowerPoint. Again, the recording of this webinar is going to be made available to you. That's what I would prefer. They'll have that, so you can do that. If, for example, you're involved in a chapter or a coffee association, and you would like for me to help deliver this information to a specific audience, please reach out. I would love to help share as much information as we can about this program in the future. Looking at other questions, please forgive the silence here. I don't know if we lost Ernest. I'm not exactly sure when he says for coffee technicians. The question is there a demand for coffee technicians? I do want to tell you that the interest in this program has been really positive and optimistic. Like I said, 153 people registered for this course. I know there are more interested. I typically answer via education@sca.coffee, the email address there and the form that we have for requesting information. I respond to maybe 3 to 4 inquiries about this program a day, which doesn't sound like much, but when you look at that over a month, there's a lot of interest of people who are looking at this program as something that they would like to do or be involved in. Plus, this program and its content is obviously beneficial for coffee technicians. It's very applicable to their job, but there's a lot of great content in here that can be useful to coffee roasters and retailers, baristas, and other people along the supply chain. So even though it's the Coffee Technicians program, it's not like only coffee technicians can take it. There's information in here that will be applicable and helpful to people all along the, especially the coffee value chain. Okay, employment and requirements for this program. Okay, Ernest, I need to follow up with you a little bit after the webinar via email to maybe answer your question more directly. But I do know that as I interact with leaders in this industry and those who are involved with the Coffee Technicians Guild, workforce development in coffee technology and the support of coffee equipment is a constant discussion about how to create more opportunities for skilled, safe coffee technicians to better support our whole industry and grow it. Okay, when can we start filling and sending you the applications? Immediately. The applications have been open since early in March. So again, visiting SCA.coffee, going to the education drop-down menu, clicking on programs, and then you click on Coffee Technicians Program, and you'll find the application there. So you can start immediately. Again, I highly recommend downloading the application information guide, and then you'll be able to have a better experience filling out the application. Wonderful. Ernest, I look forward to hearing from you. And if you had a question that I didn't address, I'm going to do my best for some of these questions to reach out to you individually. But if I had one that I didn't address, or you think of one after I close this session, please use my email, reach out. Let's figure out if this is going to be a fit for you and move forward with launching an awesome program. So I want to thank you for being with me today. We are about at that hour-and-a-half mark. So thanks for hanging in there for this. I hope that you can use the recording. Again, if you register for this, you should receive a link automatically for that. So thank you for your time. Reach out if you have questions. Again, the deadline for the next time we're going to harvest complete applications is going to be May 25th, 2020. So thank you, and I look forward to seeing you in class someday. Bye.